What's going on, everybody? Good to see y'all again. Welcome back. Another episode of Just Talking Ball. I'm your host, Texas Jayhawk. And as always, I got my boy, E. Foster in the building. What's going on, Eric?
Oh, still praising the Lord. Not a lot of hook and horns, but still praising
Hey,
the Lord.
it's all good. That is the ups and downs of college football and really sports in general. Just ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys, huh?
It's been a while. I ain't been here in 3 years, man.
Boy,
You forget what it looked like.
uncharted territory. I tell you what, I know this it's been a different week for you, and I know you've had a lot of new friends come out of the woodworks, as they say. Believe me, I know. Sometimes misery loves company, or people like to stomp on you when you're down. But sometimes you put the
Touche.
target on your back, and people wait for your downfall. What did Jay-Z say? I can't say it. That's got too much. That's material. But they pray and pray on my downfall, but
Yeah,
every
yeah,
time I
yeah,
hit the
yeah, yeah.
ground, I bounce up like round ball. So we'll see. But before we get into it, let's just check out the agenda for today. So obviously, we had one major move today in the coaches carousel, but it continues to roll. Your boy Kiffin keeps stirring it up. He loves drama. We're gonna talk about what we're mad about. New college football playoff rankings, obviously, every week are new. We'll preview the Kansas Iowa State game. We'll have a little mini scouting report about those guys. In my opinion, what it will take to be successful against the Cyclones in Ames. Then we'll recap the Texas Georgia game, and then we'll also preview the sold out Texas Arkansas game, and then we'll get into what our games are we're watching for and predictions as well. So a lot of good stuff going on, but definitely first and foremost, we're gonna say what congratulations to Coach James Franklin. He's the first major domino, if you will, to drop in the coaching carousel. Obviously, moving on to a new job. What do you think about that hire for Virginia Tech? Who's
I
the big
think it's a,
winner? Yeah,
I think it's a great Virginia Tech hire. I think as we talked about it, and I went and kind of re-immersed myself in the history of Virginia Tech.
yeah, we talked about that.
They've
Yep.
got a standard there at that place, and they've got some things, and the way it's set up, you know, you don't have to do a whole lot. The path to the playoff from Virginia Tech is much different than a path from a Big Ten or from an SEC school. At least right now,
Mhm.
things change from year to year, and Georgia Tech is, maybe asserting themselves if Brent Key stays there. They may be a staple. Miami, I think, is always going to be a staple. I don't believe Florida State, whether it's under this regime or a new one, I don't think will always be down, but they'll
Mhm.
never be Ohio State. They'll
Yeah,
never be Michigan,
yeah,
right? They'll never be Georgia or Alabama. So I think, Virginia Tech is a place that if you can go and he's got the same, it's going to be the same general recruiting footprint that
hmm
he had at Penn State. And I think if they invest in that program and become a player in the NIL space, I think they'll have an opportunity to compete
yeah.
and win
And
some SEC titles.
And like you say, obviously expectations are different in different places historically because of just the overall history of success, winning national championships, conference championships. But already, because we move in such a fast-paced world and everything changes, they're already like talking about his schedule for next year and how cupcake it is. I think they say he may face one top 10 opponent maybe, but I glanced at it. I should have put it up, but I glanced at it. But I think obviously Clemson's on that schedule. Miami's on that schedule. I think NC State is on that schedule. And those are like the three teams that kind of popped out. Maybe Florida State, obviously, maybe Florida State, but those are the teams, and it's so hard to say because of the transfer portal world we live into. It's so hard to say right now what a top 10 team is going to be next year when you don't even know what that roster is going to be. So, but that's just, I guess, just people always want to be on the, breaking news, cutting edge floor. But
And
yeah,
Clemson's not going to, Clemson's, I didn't intentionally omit them. I just know the way schedules generally work out. I doubt he's going to play, Georgia Tech, Clemson, Miami, and Florida State. It'll be some combination of those. But I think Clemson, Cade Klubnik is going to come back because he wasn't good enough this year to go get first round money. But I think he has the tools, so he'll be back. I just am a believer in Dabo Sweeney and the staff and what they do there. it's going to take a lot longer, and they're going to have a different standard of success if they're not going to recruit the portal the way that other schools do. I don't think there'll be a year in, year out staple anymore, but I definitely think there'll be a every few years, right? As they develop and as they get kids where they need to be.
Yeah, and and like I say, kudos to Virginia Tech for getting it done early. It's
Mhm.
November, so now you can kind of see the bowl season, see who performs well in the playoff, maybe start recruiting or scouting, if you will, portal wise, and then get on the road recruiting staffs being put together, and you kind of go from there. But the next one is your boy Lane Drama Kiffin. What is the latest you've heard? Because it's Florida, it's LSU, it's I'm staying, and I'm just happy that we've won this amount of games at Ole Miss, and then there's rumors of Ole Miss giving him an ultimatum to make a decision before the Egg Bowl. What have you heard? Anything outside of that, or anything more
I think
detailed?
he disputed that, but I don't believe him. The ultimatum with the Egg Bowl, I do think they
Yeah.
told him by that next day,
Hmm.
by that Sunday, they need a decision from him. I think that's a little short sighted from Ole Miss because I think whether he leaves or not, the championships and the wins remain. So
Yeah.
why you would potentially want to make a change going into a playoff, even if he told you he was leaving,
Yeah.
why you would want to make that change is a little beyond me, but I get it. I think when you're a place that has been so good to somebody, we dealt with it, at Texas in the basketball program with Sean Miller. He
Mhm.
was at Xavier, left for Arizona, got fired, went back to Xavier, and that's a place that was really, really good to him. And then, some big bad wolves start calling, and he leaves, and you feel a way. So Ole Miss absolutely feels a way about him. And I think they're just losing sight of the relationship was absolutely mutually beneficial. You know what I mean? Y'all they rehabbed his image
Mhm.
and gave him a platform, and he gave them a top 10 program.
Yeah.
You know
So
that that's
we're
that is
even. We're
that
even.
that is as win-win
Yeah.
as you will ever get in the sports world. I
100%.
think what is getting lost, sort of in the weeds, is how he's going about it, and I
Yeah.
think that's probably the only thing that I would take exception to. Not that he leaves, not that he's entertaining other offers, but the way that he's going
Mhm.
about it, I think is what's
And
annoying.
that's so
That's
Lane Kiffin.
that's who he is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Mhm.
you got to take the good and the bad, and you also have to know. I think this is just a hard truth that sometimes programs face is you're not who you think you are. And Ole Miss is not a bad job. I'm not at all saying that, but there's no world where you're the best attended game you've ever had at Ole Miss is was 68,000 people,
Yeah. I mean, we've had that at Kansas.
and y'all
You know.
celebrated, and you
Yeah.
celebrate that to the
Yeah.
hilt.
Yeah.
That is a night game at LSU versus Louisiana Monroe.
Yeah.
Not even.
You're
They're
exactly
still
right.
probably they're still probably putting
You're more. Yeah.
90,000 in that
Yeah.
place.
100%. You're
So
exactly
the
right.
resources
Yeah.
and the reach of various brands, same at Florida, the resources and the reach at those brands, um, you just can't match, and it's regional, right? It's not you don't have the living alumni base, you don't have the
Mhm.
you can't be those places. So I think sometimes when you get slapped in the face with a little bit of reality, it sucks.
Mhm.
But it is what it is. I will say all that to say the way that it's building, and me just being media trained and knowing how to tell a public narrative and create a story, this has all the makings of a hero's return home, in the sense of him staying and being able to say, I turned down Florida, I turned down LSU
Mhm.
because I believe so much in what we're building
Yeah.
here at Ole Miss.
And like you say, that's a great point. And like you say, even with like say uncharted territory when Ole Miss, yeah, not always going to be the best job, but now it's a job people are looking at now because
Oh yeah,
the profile has raised the attention, the oh, we can somebody can win there. I mean,
yeah,
10 games he's won. So like this is like new attention. You're the new kid on the
yeah.
block and you get it, but now they're like, is it short
But I
lived?
will say he
You
has
know,
put himself in a little bit of a corner for this season where maybe it didn't exist, because even if you return, right, which I that's probably where I'd put my money if I had to gamble on it today. I put my money on him returning, but now you're fanning the flames of these distractions, and whether they're really distractions or not, only the people inside that locker room and inside that program know. Um, but the perception of a distraction is there. So if you take your ass next week and lose the Egg Bowl, you take your ass to the playoffs and lose that first round, it's not going to be about who you faced that beat you. It's going to be if we weren't so distracted,
Yeah,
if we
yeah,
didn't have all this outside noise, if
it,
we you've put them other than winning cures all. So
no doubt,
that's the
no
only
doubt.
caveat to this, that all
Yeah,
this goes away if you win.
yeah.
But you kind of put a little malaise over the season that
And
didn't
and
have
and,
to
and
be
it
there.
sucks. And from the other side, it sucks because I've never been in that position as far as like, oh, people want to know, but you got to make a decision. Well, hell, what if I am looking to go somewhere else? What if I want to take my time and focus on the season, my team right now, and then see, okay, what are my options? But
Yeah,
like the world is not even letting coaches do that anymore. And
yeah.
that's, in my opinion, causing them not to lie, but yeah, lie, but throw up a smoke screen of like, okay, I'm focusing on, the season, which is true. But then they say, oh, now you're omitting and you're avoiding the question. You never gave a definite answer. But damn, sometimes we want to say, it's none of your damn business right now. I've talked
But
to
it's
my
the
athletic
way the
director.
calendar.
It's
I
tough.
don't
That is
know that
tough,
there's
man.
a. I don't know what the fix is, because I was watching. It might have been Pat McAfee, or no, or may have been Josh Pate, where he talked about his solution of how to fix it. And I think like one of the linchpins of him fixing it was like, well, and then you change the academic calendar. And I was like, colleges aren't going to do that. They're not going to change
Yeah.
the academic calendar. So that's kind of the real, for people that don't understand, like why can't they just make the portal window in February and give everybody a chance to run through the playoffs, see what they got. Then you've got the portal window, and you can kind of have like a Black Monday style situation like they do in the NFL. And you just can't,
Mhm.
because you've got to get kids transferred out. You've got to get kids re-enrolled in new schools. You've got to that it's too much happening, that you just put the athletes at a real disadvantage if you do that.
It's hard, man. It's hard because you know as well as I do. On the outside looking in, the first appeal to a job could be great. And it could be
Mhm.
like by Florida or LSU, by name recognition alone. But now, if then you take some time and you dig deeper and you
Yep.
see some things, certain people that you can't get rid of, or certain people that's kind of been a thorn in the side of athletics, or like I'm just giving that for an example, compliance, alumni would
And
have you,
relationships, right? All
yeah,
these
yeah,
people I'm going to
exactly.
work with for the next 5 years,
Exactly. And be
I want to get
successful.
on the ground and
Yeah,
really see.
yeah.
Because a lot of times when you're talking about a Florida and LSU, I do think LSU is a better job, but I also think they have a lot more in common than they have that separates them. So
Mhm.
I think when you're dealing with programs like that, the people could be the difference.
Some things you got to just accept,
Yep.
and a lot of people don't see that. A lot of people don't know about that, and but I just hate that.
Don't want to know about that.
Yeah,
They,
yeah, yeah.
very short sighted, very selfish, very me, what I got to deal with right now.
Don't tell me about the labor. Show me the baby. So but yeah, so we're not gonna get too deep into that because it really doesn't affect neither one of our schools or what we
Uh,
love. But
it does. I
well,
got
well, yeah,
four.
conference
It
wise,
does.
yeah.
I got all three schools on the schedule next year. So shit,
But
I
we
am
can't
curious.
we can't be already talking about next year, Eric.
Oh, it's basketball season, baby.
This is the day that we're gonna have fun today because this is the day. Now, he's kicked me around like a empty can of soup all year long and
Now,
enjoyed
mind
my
you, your
struggles.
room is limited
Oh
now, but
no, 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 no,
your
no!
your
See,
room
there
is
we go,
limited.
there we go. I'm not
But
gonna let
I'll
him.
give you your.
I'm not gonna let him deflect
I will
tonight.
give you what I know you're after.
But yeah, so a lot with that, and you know what? That is a great segue to what are you mad about? And funny enough, I've got a few things I'm mad about, but you know what? Nothing really comes to mind. I don't I don't want to jump into the NFL because I'm a Cowboys fan and I hate the Eagles, and my like I say, my high school team's the Eagles, and I don't hate the Philadelphia Eagles. That's probably the same reason why people hate the Dallas Cowboys. It's these fans. It's some of the
Well,
things, but yeah,
yeah,
obviously,
it's the fans and it's Jerry Jones
yeah,
for
well,
sure.
yeah, I will give that some of the fans because I'm a fan, but I'm not liking some of the style. It's like I said, I'm mad about something. Some of the style of football. I'm a some all this gimmick stuff that Sirianni's doing. All these trick things. Just play ball. Not the tush push. It was very innovative and it caught on. I'm not hating on it because it can't be stopped. That is something that they can do, and the league obviously is. If it's something that the league officers have to discuss, then it's probably something like I don't know. But then all these other things he's trying to do, and now instead of worrying about innovativeness, you've got rumblings in the locker room with Jalen Hurts. I never thought I would hear the team complain about Jalen Hurts out of all the people. AJ Brown, yeah, I've always thought AJ Brown is one of those looks like Tarzan. He's a baller, but he's been acting like Jane. Like come on,
Right.
dude, you're the most physically dominant receiver out there, but you're doing all the stuff. You're talking about distractions. And I'm not saying I'm taking joy in the Eagles' struggles because they're not struggling. They're still one of the best teams in the NFL. But I'm just saying within the culture and the system, and it's just it just gets on my nerves because the everybody wants to shine, but when you're a professional, you have a job to do. But you know what? You're gonna get paid no matter what. So be great at your job. It's like all these rumblings come, you know, because I'm not getting my shine. Or I'm not a fan of AJ Brown. I think he's soft. I think, what he's a pro, so he's a baller. But the stuff about Jalen Hurts, kind of some unanimous anonymous criticism of him not being able to throw in the zone or not being able to make certain throws. Why now? Why? What is it really? Because those one I hadn't heard a complaint about him being able to throw the ball effectively since his first year, and he fixed that. He shut everybody up. But now all of a sudden, I just you know I I don't know.
Did
I
he
just
or did they just start winning? Right. And I
but
think
but
that's
but it
the
was because of his efficiency passing. It wasn't like they were just ground and pounding the
well,
whole time.
I'll be him. The questions I have about him as a passer and being able to win the game
Just throwing
exclusively
you
with
talking about
his
just getting in the
arm.
gun. Yeah.
Right.
I agree. I agree. I
I
agree.
think those questions still exist, but what I think has changed is the same thing that changed in Baltimore for Lamar
Mhm.
Jackson is over time, changing personnel, changing schemes, changing systems. You find a way to hide all that.
Mhm.
And it's only one, maybe two teams in the league that can put you in that box
Mhm.
that you may struggle in. And if you avoid that one team, you've gone the whole season without that problem being exposed.
Yeah.
So
Eh,
I think it's a little bit of that, and I think it's just a little bit of that, and then you never know at how success changes people, both the person that's having the success
mhm.
and the person who's sitting up having to watch the success.
Mhm. Yeah. No,
Uh,
you're right.
you
It's
know,
just I
it
just it's
changes a lot
weird.
of people.
And the NFL, wants to stay a cookie cutter league. And then, the quarterback position has changed. And I agree. I think it's about the type of quarterback, personnel, and the scheme fit. And that's your own unique marriage right there. He's not gonna fit across all 32
Correct.
teams or 31 others. So, like, I don't know what the complaint is. The days of a guy sitting in the backfield and just picking apart those days are over. Jalen Hurts brings the run element to it. Lamar Jackson brings the run element to it. But then there are quarterbacks, even Josh Allen, he's a run threat, big physical guy, but he can sling it. Now Mahomes has, kind of revitalized like arm talent, throwing from different levels, angles. He's done some circus shots, no looks. People that Joe Burrow's trying to no look like all that. So like, I don't know. We're not gonna talk about the NFL anyway. So what are you mad about, E?
Uh, I I want to say
Here
if
we go.
you are no, if you are a Lane Kiffin and you're fanning the flames that question your future, if you are a coach that is reasonably understood to be on the hot seat because of your performance,
Mhm.
not even like the well, like a Brian Kelly, not even so much like a James Franklin, because I think that one was a surprise. Brian Kelly, not so much. Um, Looking at Sam Pittman at Arkansas, looking at a lot of these jobs that turned over, I think there have been questions about those coaches and their tenures for a little bit leading up into the season. So I
Mhm.
think those things are fair game to talk about and pontificate, in national media. But I think kind of what Sark today expressed on the SEC media call is this weaponization
Mhm. I
of
read it. Yeah.
skepticism and questioning the coach's future
Mhm.
that is not legitimate. Now, if it's legitimate, it's legitimate. And Lord knows the Texas fans, we've been through our fair share of, is Charlie Strong on the hot seat? What are we going to do with Tom Herman? Like when it was time for Mac Brown to go. So that's not a strange thing. But I think we're entering this new world where other programs are saying, "Oh, I hear Sark is leaving, going to
Yeah.
the NFL," because you have the reporter who dropped a random nugget at the end of an Atlantic article with citing no sources,
Mhm.
not even an anonymous source. Like she just
Yeah.
said he has interest, and it's like, well, who said? Was it a
Yeah.
source from the NFL? I follow politics, so I know that anonymous sources generally are real people. So
Mhm.
I'm with it. I'm with it. But
Mhm.
tell me that it's a source from within the Titans or it's a source from within the Texas athletic department. Give me something to
Yeah.
hang on to, not just this random opinion that you've inserted. And the national media, because of who Texas is, runs with it as fact. Then you have Desmond Howard randomly walking from the one end to the other of his driveway, dropping a random nugget, and then the national media runs with it as fact. And what I know has happened is so it goes like this: person makes a random fact, national media picks it up, writes a story about it,
Mhm.
then that story starts getting sent to recruits
Mhm.
and recruits' parents.
Mhm.
And now you're planting this seed of doubt in
Mhm.
what is this program going to look like next year or the year after. And I think we've got to just be better. And I think Sark eloquently, forcefully, and impactfully, when you hear him and you hear his tone, I think, he called the media to be a little more ethical when it comes to that,
I'm
in
I'm
how
all yeah.
you report those things. When it's right and it's a source and it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
a real
that's
thing,
news. That's relevant sports news. Yes.
there are no limits here. Nothing's
Yeah.
off limits. But when it's just some guy walking in his
Clickbait. We talked about it.
driveway,
Yeah, clickbait,
we
or
can't
farming,
treat it.
farming, yeah,
Yeah,
farming for likes, as you say,
we can't treat it with the same standard in which we treat. And I think as everybody has become a member of the media, I do think you're losing those journalistic ethics and those
Yeah,
journalistic standards
yeah,
where, damn, at least they used to have two sources,
exactly.
or one super
Mhm.
credible source who's going on the record.
Yeah, the
That's
horse's
fine.
mouth, so to say,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
and
fine. But just to say,
they
I
start
saw
having
some video that said, and it causes them to
They start having
question.
some punishments.
Yeah.
You can start having some consequences.
Well,
Start
I
putting
just
their
think
ass
it's
out
one of
there.
those things. Either you don't do it at all in the
Yeah,
sense of, hey, this isn't, everybody's gonna find that anyway. Everybody's
yeah,
gonna see that Desmond Howard video or take a peek at that Atlantic article anyway, without me on a national platform, ESPN, on three, Fox, like
mhm,
without me on a national platform echoing it, or even if I report it, I can report it in a responsible way.
mhm.
Desmond Howard drops a video with no sources, no credible facts to it. It's a thing that happened, so I can
Yeah,
report on
yeah.
that it's a thing that happened, but I also have to add in that there is no credibility behind it from what I can see.
But because, and this is the responsibility aspect of it, as you say, because of who he is, because of what he's done, you can't just say random things like that. You're currently working for ESPN. I love Desmond Howard, but you're currently working in that field, and so for you to kind of say it, kind of,
I'll be
candidly,
curious on Tuesday if they
and
make him
yeah,
clean it up.
and then yeah, and then like this is not some guy from the Republican Party saying, I'm a big Texas fan. I just think he's not going to be there. You're like, oh, you're mad. But like, dude, you're
Yeah,
in there. You've got
yeah.
insider access, so that's a responsibility. But yeah, and he didn't say anything malicious. He just said that's what he feels, and he tried to keep it at the end. I'm not saying no one's getting fired. They're just going to mutually. And I love how your boy, what do you call him, CDC? He got on
Yeah.
there on
Yeah.
Twitter and said news to me and
Yeah.
reposted it. So obviously the head coach and the AD is on the same page. And
Yeah.
I did read that with Sark today, and he mentioned he don't want to be a distraction because of something that's not even true, but he doesn't want to be a distraction. So that's why he had to reiterate.
I'm having to answer questions when I'm talking to these parents, when I'm talking to these
Yeah.
recruits
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
about shit that
Yeah.
ain't what I need to be answering
Instead
questions
of talking
about.
about your son, hey, so coach, you staying? Well, what are you
Yeah.
gonna do, coach? So
And as a
yeah.
fan, I think I'll talk about it here in a second, but as a fan, I get pissed because it takes away from the legitimate questions that are surrounding the program that we do ask. While we just had to ask 10 questions about are you staying, are you going, what is Desmond Howard talking about, what is this article talking about? The question should be, you giving up the damn play sheet yet? And what are your thoughts around that? But hey, I know you as a coach and as a program, you are identifying gaps. What are you seeing? So instead of asking the legitimate questions about things that are surrounding this program, you spend a lot of time on dumb shit.
Nonsense. No doubt, 100%. Well, yeah, but so that's good. We're mad about that. And like I say, I can go into a whole show about media and ethics and integrity and just, I want to be the first. And then it's like there's no punishment. Well, I heard it, I reported it. Why? Because you want to be the first, not because it was right, not because
Yeah.
you
And
had
some places, mind you, now that's why I say I think I always tell people when you come to me with something that sounds out, especially if it sounds outrageous,
Mhm.
given the source and the person, does that sound realistic? Okay, I'm going to go to fact check and double check for myself anyway. But
Mhm.
the crazier it sounds, the more I'm going to research it. And there are some places that still ESPN, national media, New York Times, etc. They do still have journalistic ethics
Yeah,
and
they do.
still,
Yeah.
and there are punishments when people report
Mhm.
things that are wrong and do
Yeah.
things that are wrong. But
Yeah.
it's about when you move to these publications, these message boards that are huge, by the way,
Mhm.
some of them just happen to be, run by people that choose to have journalistic ethics. But they're one of the most popular Texas message boards are run by people ain't never been to journalism school.
Mhm.
They don't have the requisite experience as a classic legacy media. Now, is there room in this new world, in this new age of how people get information? Is there
Mhm.
room for new media and new outlets? Yes, but that's why I actually prefer the direct access method now. That's my favorite kind of new media. I get to hear from the athlete themselves in
Mhm.
their own words.
Yeah.
So, ugh,
I know. Well,
yuck.
it's not gonna the taste is not gonna get much sweeter. So let's move on. So the new the most recent the current rankings came out this past week, and not much movement, not many, not many surprises, if you will. At least not 1 through 5. What are you what are you feeling? I mean, Texas is still somewhere down there, but at least you're still in it. I don't know.
I'm
There's
gonna let
always
I'm gonna let that jab go. But no, I think that two things jumped out at me. Alabama being behind Notre Dame is just absolute ludicrous. They both have two losses. In no world does it make sense. There's no objective way you can slice it that makes it make sense other than there is a statistic that they've added because they've given the committee new official data, right? They kind of have this official data, and then you have all this unofficial stuff that people can go find on their own. But one of the official criteria is like game control, right? How long were you in control of the game? How
dude.
dominant were
It's
you?
just so many. It's just so many more things, man.
Yeah. How
Like,
dominant were you? Because there are some instances where, again, if I have Notre Dame on my sheet or whatever that I've played Notre Dame, so I'm gonna get a strength of schedule boost because Notre Dame is a good team.
mhm,
Now, if Notre Dame goes on and they don't do particularly well against their schedule, that win means a little less, right? So it matters, but I just don't think they have it into context. So that surprised me because there's no objective way to look at that and say that Notre Dame is a better team than Alabama when Alabama has played better competition.
Yeah.
Alabama has better wins.
Yeah.
Alabama has better losses. So Alabama's played a tougher schedule. So like every credible way that I tend to look at these things, Alabama has the edge. And the only reason it jumped out to me is because I do think it'll matter. That 10 line right now is the cutoff. So one wild thing happens. BYU goes and wins the Big 12 title game,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now you've got that whoever the number 10 team is versus Texas Tech. What do you do? That's going to create a ruckus, especially if it's a 10-2 Alabama versus a 10-2 Texas Tech, because another team, those metrics don't make sense for
Yeah.
those two teams to be compared. And then the Miami, well, I said two things jumped out. I guess three things jumped out. Miami and Notre Dame. And
Well,
the committee,
they're kind of saying Miami's kind of on the outside
and
looking
that's a little
in.
weird to me because
Yeah.
again, same record.
Yeah.
They've played each other head to head, and the game wasn't particularly close. And I think that's what the committee is doing because when you do that, right? Because Notre Dame being 9, Notre Dame being 10, they're a lot closer, and then you have to start looking. The committee's trying to give themselves a buffer to get Notre Dame in for whatever reason. I don't think it's personal. I think that's just something they have in their mind that the eye test Notre Dame, kicking the shit out of Boston College or, the Navy, insert bad team, that eye test is telling them that Notre Dame is a really good team and, maybe not so much with the Miami. So I think I'm a little annoyed because we were told so hard and the powers that be bought into it so much that eye test isn't going to be as much of a factor. It's going to be who you played, how'd you play them.
In summary, win big in November, stay healthy, and beat who you're supposed to beat, or not, you're out. And
And I just think I think that's stupid because
it is, but that's just that. Yeah, I
well,
agree.
not necessarily the case because let's say hypothetically, let's use Texas as an example.
Okay.
Okay, you go on the road to Georgia, you
Mm-hmm.
you get whooped on pretty good. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
great, fine. Let's say you whoop on Arkansas, bad team, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you probably don't even get a bump from that. You probably still are 17 when you come in next week, depending on what happens in front of you. But the real question becomes, while extremely unlikely, but you have to think through the scenario so that you can apply the same kind of logic. Let's say Texas whoops on Texas A&M in that last game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
That's a number 3 team in the country, undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
What does that do now? Are you back? Do you get those 7 spots back?
Chaos.
Do you get those 7 spots back?
I think you're in.
You know,
I think you're in.
I don't. I think you're too far. I think you're too far out. Unless the committee is just willing to bite the bullet and say, "Logic be damned," and we'll take the arrows. Logic be damned.
Let me see.
Because all
Because
of the
if everybody stays the same, and let's just say Texas beats A&M and Georgia still goes to the SEC championship.
no,
No.
no,
Who
and it
would?
would be out. It would be Alabama and Georgia.
Okay, Alabama. Okay,
So
yeah,
Texas A&M has to beat
yeah,
Texas to go to the SEC
got
title
you.
game.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so but I again, I'm just saying my frustration is with the lack of applying a specific logic
Mm-hmm.
to the outcome because then we know, all right, big wins in November matter, make a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now you have to apply that same logic back to because right now you've told me as a committee Texas A&M is a better team than Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
You said it, not me.
Yeah.
Right? So they come to Austin, hypothetical, unlikely scenario, but they come to Austin and get beat up. What do you do with Texas?
Yeah.
So that's why I say I think it just the lack of logic. I've kind of accepted that fate. So it's not about making the case for Texas. It's about making the case for some sort of
He's
logic.
at peace, ladies and gentlemen. Did you hear him? He said he's
I
at
don't know if
peace.
I'm at. I don't know if I'm at peace, making
You made
peace,
peace with it. Yeah.
making peace, and being at peace. I don't know
Agreed.
are interchangeable.
What was funny enough, you say that, so I could apply the same thing. So tell me this. So why wasn't A&M, I'm just asking, punished for the way they performed against South Carolina?
Great question. Texas was.
Yeah.
Texas dropped when they went to Missouri or when they went to. Um, I believe it was. I don't know if it was after the Kentucky game or after the Mississippi State game, but
Mm-hmm.
one of those, Texas struggled to win. Texas dropped 2 spots.
Mm-hmm. I just wonder, because I mean, are you feeding into the fact that it's the biggest comeback in school history, or shouldn't it not have been like that because you're
Well,
supposed to be the number three team,
I think that's
against a
certainly.
3-6 team, and
So,
you were
as a
down
matter
like,
of fact, the Kentucky game was the one where we
uh-huh.
struggled and dropped 2 spots,
Mm-hmm.
and we did not get punished for winning the Mississippi State game close because we had
Yeah.
a big comeback in that game. So
Okay.
I think it all becomes, and this is where net, I think it nets out that I'm for it being actual humans in the room versus a computer, because there will be some unique scenarios that really simple human logic can overcome.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is one of the frustrations with an unavoidable problem of having humans in the room is it becomes about the narrative rather than what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
What actually happened is Texas went on the road to Mississippi State and underperformed and snuck out with a win. Texas A&M played at home
At
against
home.
a very
Mm-hmm.
bad South Carolina team,
Mm-hmm.
underperformed, snuck out with a win.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
What were the stories from those 2 games? Texas, Arch Manning got it together, played a great second half, led them to a win. A&M had the largest comeback in school history. Gritty team doesn't quit.
Mm-hmm. Well, it rolls, and like I say, you and I are we're probably not in the same seat, but we're in the same boat.
I think we're in the same. I think we're in the same seat in the sense of I would say we were frustrated and
Oh,
that the teams did not meet the expectations.
well, 100%.
Texas fans and then on another probably should have went into what I'm mad about is
Oh, I thought that's what you were mad about.
that was one of them, right? And it goes back to Sark got a question on Monday's media is it was I believe the summary of the question was why do you think the team underperformed this year? And his response was according to who?
Mm,
According to everybody.
yeah,
You were the number 1 team in the country.
yeah, yeah,
Playoff or bust.
yeah.
That's all these things are measured now. Ain't nobody, we not no fools. We know that Texas has, when you look at the composites and what all these knowledgeable people of what this talent is that you have in a room, Texas is technically the 4th most talented team in the country.
That's crazy.
You're sitting at number 17. That is a wide gap. That is an underperformance.
Yeah.
So instead of dodging the question, right, of according to who, and then they pulled, went back. And the funny thing about this new world, and you got to remember what you say, and that's why it's important to always tell the truth because people are gonna pull receipts. And I think they went back to his first year or his second year when Texas was in the midst of a little struggle, and he said, this is a learning curve. We're building a foundation, building talent. If we're in year 4 plus and we're losing 3, 4, 5 games,
Oh Lord.
that's the thing. And here we are in year 5 losing 3 games.
Ugh.
So
Well, you're not at 4, so you're good.
if they not yet, I don't, we don't know. Not yet. I'm that is not finna come out of my mouth that I'm just assuming any outcome.
Oh
But
man.
yeah, no, I think that was funny because and if they were more prepared, that's why I said I hate how media goes
Oh,
sometimes
100%.
and spend so much
Yeah.
time talking about.
Are you there? Are you there to report, get the stories out, trying to find interesting things about players and coaches? Or are you trying to gotcha? Are you trying to
Well, I do wish sports media was more like political media in the sense of if you watch, any big time politician have a press conference, it's normally opening statement,
Mhm.
question, based on the opening statement, you kind of see where the coach wants to go. If they want to rant, you let them rant, or you maybe feed into the rant because that's where the sound bite and the clicks are going to come from.
Uh-huh.
But most of the time you will eventually get into the substantive part of that conversation. And then that's when credible media does their job, because it's question, follow up, right? So the question then being underperformed,
Hmm.
answer was according to who?
Uh huh.
The follow up would be,
Uh huh.
well, in 2002,
You said,
you
yeah.
said blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
Now you've got to get an answer you can't really get away from, but
Yeah.
you probably don't answer that first question. And then that last follow up is, well, what do you attribute it to? And now you've gotten the answer to that
Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
but we've gone in this whole circle and done a bunch of dumb shit.
It's too much. Yeah. Well. Speaking of, I won't say frustration, but excitement because we are back playing ball.
You said
Kansas
that.
Jayhawks.
You're excited? Okay.
Yeah. You damn right. I'm excited.
Okay.
I never say die. So we head out to Ames. 6-4 Iowa State Cyclones versus the 5-5 Kansas Jayhawks coming off a bye week. Obviously, um, Matt Campbell, 10th year at Iowa State already. 10th year. We don't want to get to
On
another
it now,
fast
his
forward.
last one.
I'm about to say, I'm about
His
to
last
say
one.
you're a fan, but you've made mention that you thought he stayed too long, but nevertheless, 10th year, second year offensive coordinator, same defensive coordinator. So Iowa State is known defensively at least for that three safety 3-3-5 look. So gonna get that spread offense obviously, and it's so funny to see that Rocco Beck is now considered a vet. I remember when this kid was a true freshman making splashes, so he's gonna be a problem. But what I've done is we had an off week, so I've had a chance to at least watch some film, and we're gonna show some film and get into a little chalk talk and give a quick scouting report preview of Kansas versus Iowa State. So just some quick background information. So right now, first we talk about Coach Campbell being in his 10th year there. They're 6-4. They're already bowl eligible. Let's go to the film and let's check out their defense first. So right here, TCU throws a quick screen right here. I like this for us because it forces their athletes to tackle our guys in space. And I like our guy number one, just like their number one, Henderson for us. I think he can make guys miss and he can make it a house call. Make the corners have to tackle. Okay. So I think that's a weakness that we can definitely attack with Iowa State. Good move right there. Get vertical yards after the catch. Now they're an aggressive and they move around a lot. Okay. Right now they're giving a 4-2-5 look, if you will. Four down, or at least on the line of scrimmage. You got two backers at the second level, and you've got five secondary players. Bringing pressure. Some call that a smash blitz. We'll have to see from the end zone, personnel wise. Causes a bad throw, turnover, interception. Something we cannot have. They just bought the weak side linebacker, and they brought a safety. Cause a turnover. All right, here we go. Another look right here. TCU's an empty. Right here, just pre-snap right here. You see holes right here. Nobody's really over number 3 right here. Okay. All these guys are at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6 to 7 yards deep. Okay. This guy in the boundaries a little shallower, but still, just scanning the field right now, you have gifts, if you will. Just throws you can just catch and throw, catch and throw, see what happens after the snap. You don't have to make it hard. Let's just take what they give us. But when he pushed off at least 5 yards, just hitched up, we'll take that almost a first down. Just taking it actually is a first down. Just taking what they give you. All right, run game. It's a tackle pull, a tackle trap, or it could be a split zone look. Just run it a different way, but just running the same scheme, but just with different personnel. running through arm tackles right here. We have a scheme like this. I know Kansas ran it last year and we had success with it. It's washing everything, zoning everything down, down, tackle coming around, kick out. But I would take those chances with Highshaw. With our guy Highshaw, he never lets the first guy tackle him. So I will take that. Everybody else is blocked up. That guy's for you. This is something that TCU ran. I like to see us run. We've run it in a different way, but not as much this year. We ran it with our tight end out the backfield, more of a slip. What I mean by slip concept is when you're throwing the ball and you guys can go block because the ball's being thrown behind the line of scrimmage. Now this is more with a RPO look, a read. You've got numbers. You got 3/4 down here, but you've got a fourth. That fourth guy, this fourth defender, is so far off. Well, they've got 3 for 3. I like this scheme right here. This guy comes flat right now, outruns this edge player. We're reading him. He sucks in. This guy has to make the tackle. I think this is a good scheme that Kansas could use to have some success against this defense. So I wanted to touch on and just get a preview of how they played a 3-3-5 structure, some ways Kansas can attack that, get guys in space, make their corners tackle, take what they give us based off of depth and alignment, and just keep it simple. You know, they're a good team, but I think we're good too. And I think we can find ways with our pre snap motions and our RPO game and our reads that we can have some success against their defense. Let's look at some clips from last year against Iowa State. All right, so this is last year at Arrowhead against Iowa State. What we did a good job of last year is flooding the coverage, flooding the secondary. We've got 4 guys on one side of the field, a clear out, and 3 guys on different levels. Daniels does a good job hitting the third or the second guy, if you will, in the flood concept. The last guy or the first guy is just clearing out to get that corner out of the way. But flooding whichever side, I think, will be a advantage for us. Good job getting his shoulders around to be able to make the throw. We always talked about our speed option game. Getting 21 personnel right here. Let's go speed option. Good job avoiding the read by the fullback. We know what real deal could do. Touchdown. But we've got guys that can still make plays like that. Devin Neal was special, but our speed option game has been a staple in the Kansas offense since Coach Leipold and his staff got there. So that is something we run well. We've got the quarterback and the backs to do it. Here we go. Here, another flood concept, or naked, if you will, meaning he's going away from his blocking scheme. Orbit motion, a little eye candy, 3-level flood right there. Didn't complete it, but just that's open. That's there for us if we need it. Right here, gave him a double vertical concept, but it's more post vertical, stutter and go. Right here, like they're in cover 2. Safety gone. Corner doesn't get any of them. Great job by the receiver down here. Quarterback finds them wide open. That's what I mean. It seemed to be it was a trend at least against us and against TCU this year. But I know this is last year, but they get lost in coverage assignments sometimes. As you see right here, the quarterback, I mean the safety has to respect his post being threatened off the hash, so he has to go with him. But that corner has nobody in front of him. You know, cover 2, he should carry with this guy because he has nobody in this flat threatening that area of his responsibility. So he should go. So right there, that tells you sometimes they get lost in coverage. Saw the tackle trap, the tackle scheme, tackle pull scheme that they TCU ran. I said we have that in our repertoire as well. And in fact, that's high shaw right there on the carry. So see even end zone. Three down, three in the box, slightly walked out, washed everything down. Backer came up, tight end was able to get him. Tackle comes around on the outside backer. Good job. Same deal here, all in the same scheme. Zone, zone read, zone option. We keep all that, whether it's out of 21 personnel, 20 personnel, two back, whatever, what have you. We need to be able to run the zone and have the option of reading it and having the quarterback out the back door. Our quarterback is always a run threat. So those are just some of the things that I think our Kansas offense has already in their repertoire that, obviously I know they're going to watch the film from last year. Same defensive coordinator that he's had for the last 10 years. So they're familiar with each other. Obviously, it's a conference game. So I think we have the capability and ability to be able to move the ball and move it successfully and often against this Iowa State defense. Now let's look at Iowa State's offense real quick. All right. So Iowa State bases out of the spread offense. But funny enough, this play right here with the first clip we have is from under. Um, but they're just running split zone right here. Different old school look for whatever reason, but they get under with Hanson, one of the two backs that they rotate in, also with Sama, and they get downhill and they get after it. Split zone. Big game for them right here. Look at this combo right here, and look at these two combo, and they make a decision whether to stay and go, or he goes to the next level, or he goes to the next level. They do a great job here. This tackle 6'7", 6'9". He's got to be better on the inside, but that's good for us. If he can't reach people, that's good for us because we got some fast ends. But a good job on the play side by their O line. Here they come now. Here they're gonna come. Same look, split zone from the gun, RPO. I imagine this guy right here is the read, and he's got a two-way go here, depending on what window this guy sits in between these two receivers. He's throwing opposite. The end closes a little bit, so that's a pull read. And now he's just got to read off of that second level defender, the apex defender. He could have had the flat route, but he was confident in that window through the glance. All right, I like this little scheme right here, but it's not little, it's big. 13 personnel. Which means one back, three tight ends. One running back right here. This is the quarterback, obviously. One tight end, two tight ends, and there's another tight end right here. They run what I call super counter. Okay, regular counter is when the guard and the tackle pull. They not only pull the guard and the tackle, but they also pull two tight ends as well. Oh man, I like it. I love it actually. You got four guys pulling. It's a great job. Better view right here from the end zone. Oh yeah. Body up on everybody. Makes a player miss. It's a good job right there. We'll have to be ready for that. Iowa State is known to have a real heavy tight end presence. They've known for putting out tight ends, man, and just having real good depth at that position. And also, like I said, they've got two good running backs that share time that they can really just ground and pound you if you allow it. Okay, right here. So now they're in the red zone, and right now they're in a, if you will, 22 personnel. Okay, depending on how well you know the personnel, it actually looks like three tight ends again, 13 personnel. But this guy right here, this F, he's got a receiver number, but he's labeled as a F in the roster. So I would consider him a fullback. Okay, tailback. Okay, so that's your two backs in the first two. Tight end right here, and the tight end right here. That's your other two, 22 personnel, which now you only have one wide receiver, which is right there. Okay. So that's 22 personnel. Play pass. But this is the other element that Rocco Beck brings, and that's his legs. It's crazy to think that this kid's a junior already. He's a vet. He's been doing this since his true freshman year. So we've got to be able to contain him. Right here, another RPO off the split zone, just a different target here. And read. Right now, he's reading this safety. Okay. Safety comes up the field and help out on the run, dumping it to the tight end. This guy is not really a factor unless he gets inside the tight end, but this tight end knows to release outside and get vertical. Okay. But keeping this guy on his outside shoulder. And he sits anyway. Quarterback's eyes right here. You see the read. It's kind of flat footed coming up right overhead. Touchdown. So we have to be aware of when they get into a heavy sets, 13 personnel, and they're gonna run split zone, they're gonna run a counter, they're gonna try to run it right down your throat. Then they're also gonna run RPOs off of those same run looks. Okay, they can get in the gun 2 by 2 and still just run their regular pass stuff, but we have to be ready for play pass, zone option read. They've got a quarterback that can run just like we do. So that's a quick look at their offense and Rocco Beck. They could be a problem for us if we don't contain the quarterback and tackle at the point of attack. All right, so that was just something, just as they say, in my opinion, but I love ball and I love my Jayhawks, and it's just things I see. And obviously, that could go longer. Coaches, they coach and they watch film, and obviously, it's just some things I like to see. Simple. Keep it simple. I won't say stupid, but let's just come out here and get a win. We've won, not being favored before, even when Iowa State was a much better team, at least by record stand, from a record stance that, hey, nobody gave us a chance. So
In Ames, how do y'all generally
yeah.
perform in Ames?
Last time we did win in Ames. I don't have a number like wins in Lawrence compared to wins in Ames, but last time I think we've beat Iowa State the last 2 years. So at least one of those wins has been in Ames, and they've been ranked both times. Last year beat them in Arrowhead when they was ranked number 17, I think at the time. So and we were underperforming that year too, but we're not gonna get back into that. So I turn the light back to you. The This past week, the Texas Longhorns went to the Hedges in Athens, Georgia, to play against the Georgia Bulldogs, led by who Eric says now is. He said that coach is he's a top tier coach in Kirby Smart, man. So
Don't
tell me
say I
about.
say now like I was
Oh
saying.
well, well, I'm just saying.
Oh,
You never said he wasn't. I'm just saying
okay, that
that was
gives like the
that was kind.
difference.
Oh my bad. I didn't want to lend to that. I don't want to give fake media fake news. No, just when we were talking throughout the game, he really, leaned
He's
into
gonna
the
shy
fact.
away from what I
Yeah.
said. I will say what I was saying,
Well,
which
yeah.
is
You can say it. You go
I
ahead.
was I was giving I was giving Kirby credit
Mhm,
in the sense of I was noticing, and when you have a ton of data points in front of you, some
mhm,
trends just become really difficult to ignore. And it was clear that their guy was better than our guy, and there's a little bit of a wide gap that I didn't know was there. I really felt like we were on par with the elites across the country, but I think Kirby's feel for the game going for the kill when they were
Mm-hmm.
up 14-10, and Texas had it rolling on the drive before, and they kind of figured, hey, if we give them the ball back here, we probably tighten this game a whole lot, maybe even go down. Let me do some things. So score, onside kick, score, went for it, fourth down, I think 2 or 3 times in that drive.
Love that fourth down
Um,
play. Love that play.
Love the fourth down play.
Oh my
The
God.
first one was cool. The third one annoyed me because at what point, and I think I told you, at what point do I play the tendency? You've
Yeah.
gone to the flat last 2 fourth downs.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, I've got to know, you now. I will say I'll give my guy some credit in terms of playing for tendency. I told you I would have bet everything I had that we wouldn't throw a screen. We wouldn't throw that. We wouldn't throw that wide receiver
Hey,
screen
hey,
the
we
first
we
play
got
of
on
the
the phone
game.
the same time. He did it.
We did the shit, and it was open.
Yeah.
It was open. Had the turf monster not got him, you probably open
Mhm.
up the game with 6.
That's
So
crazy.
hell, I guess I would bet that we will see it to open up the Arkansas game, on Saturday.
Run it till you stop it.
But no, there's no shying away from. I thought Texas just played poorly. 2 for 12 on third down. We were 2 for 3 on fourth down, so that was a bright spot. Arch Manning was a bright spot. 27 for 43 against that
Wow.
defense.
Wow.
I thought that kid was really, really good, but we did not help him. 23 rushing yards, 1.4 yards per
Dude,
carry.
dude, on
Uh,
17 attempts. Yes, that is, yeah.
17
Jesus.
attempts. I
Yeah.
think that was where the game was probably won and lost. Was Kirby Smart got, and again, this plays into where I said their guy, at least on that day, was a hell of a lot better than our guys.
Mhm.
Kirby Smart got his guys to overperform when you match the statistics of what was their season average versus what did they do against Texas on Saturday. They overperformed in just about every category. They ran the ball better. The only thing that was consistent was passing. They were about where they've been all year, passing the ball.
Yeah, and
But
about 229, 230, I
they
think.
hadn't.
Yeah.
They hadn't. They were last in the SEC in quarterback sacks and pressures. I believe they had. I believe they had 8
Wow.
in
Jesus.
that game, which is more than they've had all year combined.
Yeah.
So getting your guys to overperform, I thought was just really special and really elite by that Georgia.
In the moment at the right time.
And you didn't even give Texas a chance to respond. They scored to cut it to 10-14. Georgia goes to score. I was very keen to see how does Texas respond.
Mhm.
Kirby was not interested in that question. He was not interested in that question.
Yeah.
So, I think it just showed me a lot. Time of possession was wide. The fourth quarter time of possession. I think Texas had one drive in the fourth quarter.
And that's crazy because Texas is good, and I never would think that they were out of it. But against a good team like that, and they were on one all 3 phases of the game, and like I say, 21 points in the fourth quarter to Texas 0. And like I said, you mentioned earlier the onside kicks, the fourth down conversions, things like that. But God, that was the
Well,
fourth quarter.
and that's why I said just so everyone just gets a sense of how quickly the game turned.
Hmm.
If you're Arch Manning, you scored a touchdown, you ran off the field. The score was 10-14.
Hmm.
You got the ball back. It was 28-10. That's the whole that the mind shift from that is wild. So you took the kids out of the game, and you took what was working away, in a new and innovative way, because I've never seen, normally that's not Kirby's style. He wants to line up and play smart football. He made some calls that, how as much credit as we're giving him today,
Hmm.
if that what was it, 4th and 4, 4th and 6, it wasn't quite fourth and short, but it was 4 because they had to pass the ball the first time they went to the
Hmm.
flat. I think it was like 4th and 4, 4th and 5 on a -40.
Yeah.
you know you don't get that. Texas just scored and made it 10-14. If you don't get that, Texas has a really good field goal kicker. If you don't get that, Texas only needs 6 yards to get points, period.
Mhm.
But assume they're rolling, you go down in that situation, that's a coaching mistake. And we're
Yeah.
talking about this completely different, if it goes the other way, but it didn't, so you give credit instead of talking about it. But that was a really, really gutsy call that not a lot of coaches in that situation are going to make.
And that's crazy because, like you mentioned, even the game before, when he did the run the punt team on, run the punt team off, run the punt team on, run them off, then run a punt, like he's setting something up, just like with those fourth down calls and against good teams. I mean, Texas ain't no slouch. I mean, you're this.
Well,
I mean,
mind you, we don't even know because Texas couldn't
yeah.
get out of our own damn way because why did he run? The punter was on the field.
Uh-huh.
He didn't run them on and run them off. He ran
Yeah.
them on. We weren't right.
Yeah.
We had to call a timeout. He
Yeah.
came out of the timeout and decided they had the right play call on at
Yeah.
that time. So they went to go get it. There was another fourth and 5. Now he was going for it anyway.
Mhm.
4th and 5, we were off sides
Yeah.
and gave
Yeah.
them the first down. Didn't even give ourselves an opportunity to go make the play. So that it was little things like that
Special
that
teams,
stacked up.
special teams had a tough night for Texas. That was a
We
tough
had a
night.
tough night. I
Special
will
teams.
be remiss if I did not say it. It did not at all affect the outcome of the game, but the officiating against Texas on Saturday was extremely poor. You
It just
can't you can't play a whole you cannot play a whole football game
Mhm.
against two ultra talented teams and only one team has 9 flags that were accepted. There were 13 total.
Mm.
Georgia had 2 flags total, one that was accepted. That doesn't compute.
Well, they were home.
They were home, but damn, you know what I mean? And I just call it out because, and I do think the SEC more than any other conference, and because I listen to not only Texas fans, all fans, A&M has never had a game where their defensive line wasn't held on every play of every game, according to them. But I think in particularly, the SEC is facing a crisis of confidence
Yeah,
in
and
terms
you've
of
mentioned that.
in terms of officiating.
Yeah, and
And
it's gonna be addressed. It's gonna be
you
addressed.
have to
Yeah,
you have to address it, but I don't think just addressing it is enough. I think you have to
well, it's gonna be
address it,
action. Yeah, it's
and
gonna be
I
action.
think it has to be action, and I think that action has to, whether it gets leaked or whatever, that action has to become public so that you can restore the confidence in it.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? Making the decision behind the scenes, because most fans can't track this officiating crew versus that officiating crew and the data points around them. Most fans don't look at that.
yeah.
So, but coaches absolutely do, right? And to the extent I found out this week, it goes into the game plan. They
Damn.
get the coach. They get the coaching, or they get the officiating assignments 3 weeks in advance, I
Hmm.
believe,
Hmm.
and they look at, do they call holding or not? Do they
Hmm.
call this
Yeah,
or not? Where do they call? How do they call? Because the officiating crews work together all season, by
yeah.
the way.
And
So,
they come in through fall camp too, and they'll do scrimmages and all that stuff too. So
but yeah, so
you get a
they've got
feel
a
for,
they've got
like,
a
yeah,
crisis of confidence that
yeah,
they've got to
yeah.
get a hold of,
Uh,
um, because it'll cost the SEC as a whole one day. It didn't, it did not determine the outcome of this Texas game. So I'm not as bent out of shape about it. But in a different world, it could have.
yeah, yeah. Well, where do we go from here, Austin? What's the tone? What's all the Kool-Aid drinkers? How are they acting? You're right there. I know you have somewhat of a level head, but
I well, I'm grateful that the opponents are who they are.
hmm
I think if the opponents were different, I think you have an opportunity for apathy to set in and kids start to look to next season and, coach, don't play me because I don't want to burn my red shirt or I don't want to get
hmm
hurt, or you've got a kid that's right on the brink of an injury. probably could go in an emergency situation in a game
Mhm.
that matters versus
So what am I doing it for?
versus one that doesn't.
Mhm.
Why would I even play? Anthony Hill's not going to play on
I
Saturday.
get it. Yeah.
They probably didn't even have to think about that. They probably didn't consider it at all. So if not for an Arkansas team that's coming in that hates you, led by an interim coach that absolutely this is his Hail Mary for this job. If he can come on the road in Austin and beat Texas, and by virtue of everybody else telling him no, thank you, he puts himself in a situation where he gets a legitimate look again at
Mhm.
this job.
Crazy.
Again, this means so much to Arkansas fans that they're going to come in absolutely ready to play to the point where Texas has to play because if you don't, not just will you lose, you'll get embarrassed,
Mhm.
and that changes the whole narrative around the season.
Well, and it adds to it, and actually that's something to be grateful for because obviously Black Friday, you're not gonna need any motivation,
That
but
game is what it is. Yeah,
it still adds something to it. So well, that's good, and I mean it's sold out. So I mean,
every game is sold out. We knew that before the season. I hate the way they
it's like
do
it's
that.
like it's like they showed to see what's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
it's
Not
a
that I'm
media.
showing
Yeah,
up to.
it's a marketing ploy.
I got you.
We sold out season tickets in off season.
That's what I said.
You know what I
Because I
mean?
mean, last game I went to, I said it was sold out. So maybe they got some late arrivals, but
Yeah. So if you sell out, that all
yeah,
that really means is the opposing team didn't give any tickets back.
yeah,
For
you're
us,
right.
that's what it means for us. When we sold out all the allotment of the tickets, students already got all their tickets, whatnot. That means Arkansas didn't give none back. Okay, cool.
It's home game, huh? You gonna be there? You going?
It's a home game. I will check the weather. Um, that's one I'm just not.
I'll
I
go with you.
hope I hope
I'll
it
go with you. I'll
I
go with
hope
you.
it changes. I hope
Uh-huh.
my mood changes. But I would be lying if I said as a diehard Texas fan that I wasn't at that apathetic stage right now.
That's real.
That I am in a sense of if it's convenient to me, I'll get up and go. If it's not, I'm not. It's not to the point to where that is the most important thing on my agenda on Saturday.
Boy, you heard it here for it. Market November 19th. Oh,
I'll
it's
probably be there. I can't imagine not. Other than it
the
is looking like
the
it's
the
supposed to
chat
be shitty
the
weather
chat.
that day.
Oh well, yeah. Well, I was say
Um,
the chat will get you there.
you
You
know,
know, 2:30. That's not too bad. 2:30 game.
2:30,
That's
but it's
good.
gonna get cold soon as the sun goes down. Sun going down at
Mm,
5:15. But I think it's supposed to rain.
well,
Cold plus rain.
I'm not. Yeah.
That
Well,
don't do
well,
it. That don't do
yeah.
Eric no good.
I could do cold. I've been in it. I'll do that with you, but I'm not doing no rain.
Yeah,
No,
cold plus rain. That don't do me no good.
no. Well,
And then,
I
but I will, in the A&M game, I can't imagine a world where I don't go because I do believe we'll win. I don't think we'll win the way that it'll make it matter, but you know, just
you're
being
going.
there.
Now, if y'all lose Saturday, I know you're not going. If
If
you
I
ain't got,
lose that, I need to frame it. If I lose right now, everything is optional. Where in the sense of I think we've talked about some of the changes that I think, need to be made within the program. And then you got to look around, do I go take an offensive lineman, a really good offensive lineman from Texas State just hit the portal today.
Mhm.
Do I go take some receivers or developmental whatever? How much confidence do I have in the development of the guys we brought in and have in the program? Um, you know, Losing Saturday moves a lot of those questions of should Sark give up play calling?
Mm,
What are some of our issues in the secondary? Can they be fixed? Is 70-year-old Dwayne Aquina a good fit? Right. A lot of how those pieces work together, a lot of that stuff is still optional. If you go 9-3, probably win your bowl game, 10-win season.
mm,
Nobody's really it. This will go down an
was
underperforming
which
season
is crazy because of where you started off. I get
because
it.
of where you are.
I
You
get it.
and
Well, yeah, where you are and like where you started off, especially like say all the things you mentioned earlier in the show. Number one coming into the season, fourth best rated talent roster, in the nation. So like I will concede to that. I do get it. Yes.
but
That
if you
full
lose, but so if that happens in 10-3, and you can just blame, we were really young. We probably, we had some injuries on the offensive line early. We had some
he,
injuries on in the wide
Baxter,
receiver core
Baxter,
early,
Baxter too, man. I mean,
Baxter
yeah,
early. So if you go 10-3, everyone's gonna defer to the big guy, right? Do whatever you think is it puts us in the best spot for
yeah,
next year.
yeah.
You lose to a bad Arkansas team, that probably means you lose, and probably not in a pretty way, to A&M that next week.
That'd be
Now
five
it's no
losses.
now it's no longer optional.
Yeah, that's five losses.
Now you have to make changes, and
Ooh,
probably some pretty big ones in the off season, to restore that confidence.
ooh, seven,
And
7-5. Ew.
you know what's crazy? It's crazy how some teams, because Texas all of a sudden isn't all of a sudden going to not be talented.
Mm-hmm.
They just signed the number 3 recruiting class in the country, or maybe even number 1 again. I don't know. I got to check. But I know it's top 3,
Mm-hmm.
um, class of 2025 or 2020, whatever year, 2026.
6, yeah, it's
You've
got
got
to be 6.
2026, and you've got a ton of early enrollees that'll be here in January. So Texas, coming in the next season is not all of a sudden going to
Yeah,
be untalented. There's one change that is super simple that moves everybody to their natural positions. You need an offensive play caller that's not the head coach. I the philosophy of, I challenge anybody watching, if you know of a head coach that calls his own plays that won a national title, let me know, because I can't find one.
mm-hmm.
Right. So the philosophy of it is already hard because it hasn't been done before in 300 years of college football. The practicality of it, and Georgia exposed that. I think somebody said it on Twitter, which very rarely do I take stock in what somebody says on Twitter, but I think somebody said it on Twitter and it made so much sense. That onside kick is the kind of kick that an offensive coordinator won't see coming, because they have their head down getting ready for the next possession.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
And when that guy is your head coach, you are too reliant on the major parts of the game and
Managing everything else. Yeah,
managing everything. And I believe that, I will die on that hill. Everything stops at the top.
yeah,
And you can't be effective with managing everything at the top if you're so focused more on one side than you are on the other.
you
Uh,
know, what's crazy. You talk about play calling, whether stats matter, whether numbers matter. Responsibilities. You talk about focus, things of that nature. Do you know that in his first year at 5-7, he averaged more rushing yards per game than he did last year when y'all were in the semifinal?
yeah.
He averaged close to 200 yards rushing his first season, and only 158 last year, and it's declined.
The talent that we were facing is different, because across the SEC, that's a priority, right? And
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
not a knock on Big 12 versus SEC.
Well,
But
yeah, it
in
is.
the SEC, the offensive and defensive lines are the priority for every team in the conference. That's not the case in the Big 12. The
But you
Big
do what
12
you, yeah,
was
but you do
fast
what you do
paced,
though.
dirt on grass kind of league. I need guys on the outside that can cover or that can beat a coverage. So that's where I'm putting, that's where I'm putting my priority focus, because that's what's going to determine the win and loss in that league. That's why when Texas announced, which I think they gave Sark a 3-year head. I think they announced it his first year
Hmm.
that they were going to the SEC, gave them a 3-year head start, so that you start building for that. Don't start building for where we are today. Start building for that. It just so happens that is also what could win in the Big 12 at that time. But I think that's much more of a function of it was a new scheme. People hadn't seen it in years. You didn't probably go take a whole lot from what you saw at Alabama. But again, it just wasn't the priority. So the talent level across the defensive line was much different than what they saw last year, week in and week out in the SEC.
So what he's saying is they can run the ball in the Big 12, but can't run it in the SEC.
They can run in the SEC. They had the best they had the leading rusher in the SEC last season. So they can run the ball, and it's on film and proven that they can. We just haven't been good at it this year.
We're not gonna keep as say beating a dead cow. That sounds a little more better because
Ah, you wrote
we,
that down. You were
I did
practicing that
not.
one.
I did
You
not.
were practicing that one.
It
Yeah,
just came
beating the
naturally
dead
because
jaywalk. That one stuck with
yeah,
you.
because like
That one stung you. You didn't like
what
that
are we
one.
talking about? What are we talking about? No, but yeah, but
That's a good
we
one.
we it is, but and you can't. I mean, we could talk about it, all day, and especially you and I could talk with you. But like you're so invested, and you looked at so many different things about it, and you're only saying this because you want your team to be successful. You want to change.
Absolutely.
You're not just complaining about, oh, we should do this, but it's
Yeah, we're not
it's
there
not
yet.
a knock on Sark. It's a knock
Yeah.
on how can we be most successful. Not that you can't do it. He's a proven play caller. He's a proven offensive innovator. He's considered to be offensive guru. So it's just at certain places. You think about Mac Brown. He said it. I mean, and he coined it. He's a CEO of his team. That's what I am.
And
And he, and
it's I would be curious to ask, because his answer always is, I got hired because I'm a very good play caller.
yeah, and that's what
Well,
he wants. Yeah,
every head coach that's ever been an offensive or defensive coordinator got hired
yeah,
because they were a
yeah,
very good play caller,
yeah.
or else you wouldn't have the job. So I don't think I think that's a little bit of a
That
misnomer where
that
it doesn't.
transition is hard. That
Yeah,
transition is hard. If you, especially if you love it and you love
yeah.
coming up
And
with
I think
plays.
there's some act, and
Yeah.
that's why I wish it had happened this year and you had no idea that you were essentially going to burn a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I wish it had happened this year because, okay, Arch would be going into year two of a new system next year.
Mm-hmm.
The staff would be in year two of this new world and this new adjustment of how do we lead? How do we mesh with a new staff, everybody sliding into a different role. So I don't know. It's weird. I will tell you what'll make Texas fans happy, reinvigorate going into the next season. I just do think the data is there to support, because we look at how Texas performs offensively in the biggest games in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we don't run the ball very well. We don't convert on third down very well. So it's just enough data there, even across last year, going into this year. We don't do very well in the fourth quarter. We've struggled in the red zone, right? So, okay, we've got enough to say making a change won't cost us anything because we already aren't doing these particular things very well anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
now that you have that, who do you go get? I think Gus Malzahn at Florida State can be had. A
I
guy
would,
that's
that would
been,
that would change my look. That would change my feel about Texas. I'm a big Gus Malzahn fan. Ooh,
you know,
that would get me excited. I'm not a
you
Texas
know,
fan.
and I just want to see as somebody, and maybe because I spent so much time doing it this year that I want to see other people be able to do it, which is check your damn ego, because that's what it comes down to. That's what it is.
Well, you,
There's nothing you're looking at, or there's no data point that says I am better at this than anybody else in the country or anybody that I can get to come here. And I think it's just the shift checking the ego and then the shift in mindset of giving up the play sheet doesn't mean I give up the power to make the decision,
yeah,
because we've seen time and time again, why I'm just a big Kirby Smart fan, is we saw many times down the stretch, and the camera just so happened to be zoomed in to the extent of where you could read lips, where he was asking Glenn Schumann, the defensive coordinator, "What are you running?"
yeah,
and
Yeah.
he said something, and he said, "No, we run
Yeah.
in nickel."
Yeah. Yeah.
And they ran, so
Yeah.
there you can still do, I would imagine, haven't never been on a headset in the middle of a college game. You have. I would imagine if it doesn't, it should go something like in critical plays or in critical situations, give me a run, give me a pass,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
What have you.
Mm-hmm.
You're obviously making the decision, go, no go on fourth
Mm-hmm.
downs, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Should be, I think John Gruden said he always tried to give his OCs even a next leg up of, you know, going into third down, hey, give me a run, I'm going to give you the fourth down.
Yeah. Yeah.
All those kinds of things you still are able to
No,
do
you're exactly
and
right.
have that ultimate control over.
What I've been on both sides, but what do you like here? What are y'all thinking? Or do y'all like this? Or if not, what then? Or then I've heard a head coach come over and say, "Hey, let's run this." Well, see, none of the other stuff matters. That's what the head coach wants, and we go from there. So and why not? Because Kirby and Coach Sark are from that same tree. And what better example? Not because of how successful he is, but Coach Saban, who everybody thinks is a big control freak, micromanager, he's a defensive guy. He had a DC and he ripped your ass when stuff wasn't right, but at least he had guys calling,
And none of his
because
mentors, Pete Carroll didn't
yeah,
call play.
yeah,
None of his
yeah,
mentors were so attached to it. And I get it. Trust me, as
mm,
a person who has done something one particular way and
mm,
has had some really good success in doing it that way, it is really, really hard to look and say, okay, that way is not the best way
yeah,
anymore. I need to do something different.
yeah,
So
because
I
your name
think,
is on it.
so
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
we're there, and I
yeah.
think that's just a little bit of pride. But you know what would hurt worse?
Losing.
Telling you to pack your shit and get
Yeah.
out of here. You know what I mean? But just be real about who you are,
Mhm.
where you are at the
Yeah.
University of Texas. You underperformed this season to the extent of 9-4, 10-3 is still going to be viewed as a failure of a season because of what were playoffs were a realistic expectation for this team.
Hmm.
I will never back off from that.
Yeah, I agree.
Was Texas the number one team in the country coming in? No. Was Arch
Mm,
Manning the second coming? No.
no.
So all that you throw that part of the preseason hype out. Playoffs was absolutely the line for this team. You don't make the playoffs, you didn't perform
It's
up
a
to the
it's
level.
yeah.
It's a failure of a season. Okay, so you only get two in a row at Texas. That's just a
Mhm.
thing, right?
Yeah.
You're only going to get two. You fail this season, you come up short again next season, and of course the who's and hows matter, barring catastrophic injury, barring you know shit that you could actually say, but if not for then,
Hmm.
right? That was truly outside of your control. But you fail this year, you go fail next year. That conversation, because now you'd be in next year's year six, this year five,
Hmm.
next year. No, I'm sorry. I think
It'd be six. This is five. This is five.
this is year five. Okay, so
Uh-huh.
next year's year six.
Hmm.
So 6 years, those numbers start to look kind of funny now when you look at Sark versus top five opponents, Sark versus top 10 opponents, Sark versus playoff teams. Those kinds of numbers, the data points have, typically start to turn against you if you're not winning.
He's 2-8 versus top 10 teams since
Yeah.
he's been at Texas.
Yep.
2-8. I think 2-8. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, like I say, I don't want to keep beating on that Bevo,
beating on the deal.
that
No,
dead
I
Bevo.
got you. That
Now,
was a good one. I'm gonna give
nah.
you that. I'm gonna let you have that one because
Hey,
that was a really
when
good one.
when you got experience brewing and being mad, I got plenty of material. But let's move to our game picks and what happened last week. Went 5-1. Who let me down? Somebody let me down last week that I did not. Cincinnati got beat again. It is what it is. But that was my only loss. Everybody else, held the end of the bargain. But going over mine's real quick. Obviously, I'm riding with my boys, Kansas. They're a 4.5-point underdog. So what? I don't know, man. Baylor is getting. I don't know, man. Arizona, they're winning the last two games. They've won some games that they weren't supposed to win. Obviously, Tempe has been good to them, so I'm gonna go with Arizona. No brainer, Utah. TCU. Ugh. I watched some film again with them, and Iowa State, and obviously one game doesn't determine the season, but they're just kind of flailing out there, man. Just throwing up whatever. Hoover is they're just out of control right now. So I'm I'm going with Houston. Hopefully they can get back on track. Obviously, Oklahoma State, they're just trying to get to the offseason. Going with obviously UCF. Um, BYU over Cincinnati. Cincinnati bites me in the ass again, then I just have to concede to I was wrong about Cincinnati, period. But I'm going with BYU. I think BYU has much more to play for, and that's what it is, even though it's only a 2.5 point, favorite. Arizona State. I love Coach Prime, but Arizona State, I picked them. Coach Dillingham's doing a good job. Those boys are solid. The outgoing, and people talk about they want to, thank God some of this attention has gotten off Coach Prime because people are saying, oh, Colorado's terrible, but the outgoing athletic director, who is still the current athletic director right now, did make a statement and say that Coach Prime is not on the hot seat. So y'all get off Coach Prime.
Monetarily, that's a job he's doing.
I'm just saying.
No, I think it's important for people to understand what goes into, decisions. Texas and whatnot. The University of Texas football is going to be an economic driver to the city of Austin, regardless of who the head coach is. LSU is going to be a driver to the city of Baton Rouge, regardless of who the coach is. So that doesn't matter. The Colorado Buffaloes are an economic powerhouse to the city of Boulder because of Deion Sanders. That is clear. The numbers, the data, everything supports that. You remove that piece, you remove that excitement around the program. You remove the spectacle. People are coming, they're
3-7, 3-6. Yeah,
and they're gonna be sold out on Saturday, not because the Colorado versus Arizona State is going to be a particularly compelling matchup. They are sold out because of the spectacle right now that is the Colorado Buffaloes. Now that window is getting smaller, right? Because at a point, all right, damn, it's a good show, but we're not winning, and
we're not getting the ending we want in this show.
We're not getting the ending, and the economics across the country are trending poorly. People are going to look to save money, and where does that money come from, et cetera, et cetera. So eventually you do have to put a winning product on the field. But right now, and the tuition numbers are way up at the University of Colorado. The tuition amongst out-of-state kids, Black and brown kids, way up in a college. That's all money. That's all real big time money. FYI, for folks that don't know, colleges want out-of-state kids more than they want in-state kids because they can charge them double, right? So that
hence the in-state tuition, out-of-state tuition.
Exactly. So those kinds of economic drivers, as long as those things continue to be true, Deion Sanders is going to be his caller. And mind you,
catalyst.
I think Kenny Dillingham, Kenny Dillingham? Yeah. Kenny Dillingham. I love how they genuinely must enjoy each other because they had a whole love fest where, Kenny talked about how great Coach Prime is, and he said, people are forgetting 3 wins is 300% better than they were before he got here. And that is true. So I think the context of what Colorado has been and the level in which they're recruiting at, just the opportunity that they're getting to be on the national stage, all those things walk out the door with Deion Sanders walks out the door.
Agreed.
So I don't think you're in any hurry to push.
I'm just saying, because people equate, bad season, you're losing your job. That's all people think they have. Anyway, I'm Boomer Sooner this week, obvious reasons. I don't care if they got their quarterback or not. Let's go Oklahoma.
Because of the defense, because of
Oklahoma impressed me. They impressed me because I really thought Alabama was going to win that game.
I told you they was going to win.
You did. But I mean, I was impressed. So that's my picks. I did go 5-1 last week. Now you got a cupcake ass slate. I don't know. That's whatever, man. Whatever. That's a cupcake slate.
And I can't wait to join them. I want to be on record. The committee has told us. This could have went into what I'm mad about too, but the committee has told us how many wins you have versus who and how you lose. They care more about the wins. If Texas is sitting here at 8-2 instead of 7-3, they're probably no less than number 8 in the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm. I agree with
I
that.
think every reasonable person can agree that
Yeah,
they're
because that win would have been huge.
that
The
you
Georgia
know.
win. Yeah.
No, I'm saying if sub out Oklahoma, sub out Ohio State,
Oh,
put
okay.
in put in
So he's
Baylor,
talking about the earlier
put
non-conference.
in
Yeah,
put in Baylor, put in Houston, put
I got
in a team that at least somebody know where the school is. But I literally said, I said they need to, we'll keep, we should keep the Ohio State game next year and the Michigan game the year after that, because those are our return home
you. Hmm.
games, and you have a
Yeah.
much better chance at home than on the road.
Hmm.
But that Notre Dame series, you can cancel that shit. Why help them? People are like, oh, well, you're going to have to pay $2 million to cancel it. You're going to make more if you go to the playoff.
Yeah.
So is it worth it? It's a net gain. So
Right.
yeah, I'm all for, after that, get rid of that shit and you go schedule a mid-tier ACC or Big 12 team and be done with it. Hell, I'll take Texas Tech because whatever, I just like my chances. The data's there that says, you'll go get it done. But anyways,
Yeah, I
I
don't want to
think
see him this
Texas
year.
I think Texas plays well against Arkansas. Arkansas is awful against the run. The one thing about Sark, and again, giving him credit where it's due in his system, he is able to really get deep into his bag and really do things. And
Hmm.
he can run the ball and have play action and all those things at his disposal.
I think nobody has a better opening script than him that I've seen this year.
Nobody. But like I told you, I said it at some point though. I think the opponents start to say,
Oh yeah, I get it, but
whether that's storm, whether
yeah,
that storm, our
yeah.
opportunities are
Oh
going to
yeah,
come in drives 2, 3 plus.
yeah.
But Arkansas plays terrible against the run. I've got Texas, A&M by a million. Um, I am taking Oklahoma, but I will say, and I probably would take them even if this is Purdue's first game back,
Hmm.
because that system is just too hard to play against.
Hmm.
But in a different world with a healthy Bo Pabula, who had maybe had another game or two under his belt, I probably would have took Mateer.
It's the same thing. When Mateer came back, he was
Yeah,
rusty that first
I've
time,
got that's
So yeah.
whatever. Uh, so yeah. So I've got Oklahoma close. I think being at home is the difference. If Pabula plays, if it's that backup, if it's that third string kid, God bless him, they're gonna kill him.
Nah, they'll be fine.
I've got Georgia covering. Um, they'll win by 50. I've got Bama covering. Um, Auburn will not cover, but they will win comfortably. They'll win probably by 24, 27, something like that.
Mm.
I've got Vandy winning. And that, even applying that logic, okay, Texas wins. What do you do with them versus Vanderbilt? We played head to head, whatever. Anyways,
You gotta let it go, dog. It's okay. It's
South
okay.
Carolina rolls.
It's,
Tennessee covers. Tennessee wins. They cover.
mm,
LSU wins. They do not cover,
mm.
but they win. And then I've got USC, Oregon. Um, Based on where Texas is, we can't lose. I think the loser.
You a USC fan?
I think the loser of that game drops behind us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
Yeah,
USC is
because
a factor.
because I
Yeah,
I think you just map. Even though I've accepted reality, you just look at what's out there and what you got, and
follow
it
that
it,
suit, Texas fans.
it
Somebody that
helps
faced
it
reality.
helps us it helps us a lot more if USC beats Oregon versus Oregon
No
beating
doubt.
USC.
Because blood is in the water in Texas, and the boys in Lubbock and College Station are coming for them horns. And I mean,
They're gonna get. What's crazy? They're gonna get there. They're gonna get housed when they do, because you look at the matchups and the college. It's rare that Texas is not. If Texas is not participating in the postseason, I'm generally out.
oh, I know. Yeah.
On that sport anyway.
I look at this as the multiverse. Imagine Texas Tech being a Big 12 champ and Texas A&M being a SEC champ. Boy, that's gonna very realistic, very possible.
I don't look at.
and y'all are not even in it.
I care about what you do. I care about if you go win a national title or not.
Well, yeah, but
if you go win a national championship, that is the game changer.
But I mean, if y'all are not even in it, and they've done this,
but we're coming off of it. It's not like not like we haven't been there. We won the Big 12 in our last year there, so we've done that.
Yeah,
we've gotten to the playoff and won games. They haven't done that. So if they do those, you got to do more. I don't care when you catch up as much as I care.
Yeah, because but you also know,
past me.
But also people got a short memory too.
Nah, I think because we'll talk about that next week. I don't think A&M wins. They give up the run too much. Same problem with Arkansas for all the things they do well. Their run game can be had, and if you come in here and you can't, Arch only got to throw the ball 25 times, 28 times.
Well, I don't want to fast over this week because I am anxious to see, but I want my Jayhawks to take care of business. But there was a lot. It was thick. It was a different tone today, ladies and gentlemen. My boy Eric is in a different. He said he's gonna wear his glasses at first, but then he took them off because he's going. I don't want to throw.
I want credit
for.
Because I was honest. I didn't sugarcoat. I didn't sunshine pump.
Right. Well, I mean, there's always a potential for you to do it, but I also do know you're level-headed, and you're probably the only Texas fan I do talk to, and because I be hearing them other. I'm not going to get into that. Nevertheless, man. So Jayhawks at 11 a.m. in Ames. The Horns and DKR at 2:30 against the Razorbacks. So we'll see. I really do hope we both get a win. I appreciate your time as always, Z. I know I know you got to go watch the Texas girls play, so enjoy that. And
big time recruitment. I can always count on Vic Schaefer to save my weekend, my season. Just got the number 8 recruit in the country committed. I think this pushes them into the top 3 in terms of recruiting classes for this cycle.
I'm not using this show to talk about no Texas.
Hey man, we are going to talk about it next week because they play UCLA and potentially South Carolina next week. So we will talk about this.
I'm a Don Staley fan, but because I will say that. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, were you a Jody Conrad fan?
No, I was a Texas fan. Nobody liked that. Nobody liked that grind him up defensive ass game. I don't like that. At least Vic let him run. He's like, I'm gonna grind you up, but I'm gonna let you get up and down. I'm gonna let you get 100.
Yeah, well, exactly. You're right. I'll take that. I'm not a big basketball guy, but I'm a Don Staley fan, and I'm also an Ole Miss fan this week. I can't wait till January either.
They almost got. They better get a whole lot better between now and January.
Oh, whatever. You hear that? All right. But as always,
Coach Yo. I love you.
I'm a tagger now.
Amazing person. A great person.
Oh, yeah.
We won't be friends in January, though.
As always, rock chalk.
Praise the Lord and hook 'em horns, baby.
All right. We see y'all next time.
Hey. See y'all from Texas.